Have you done an 8-page waterfall? Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing the second half of the layout that we started on Wednesday. These are photos from Bunratty Castle in Ireland, and in order to accommodate all of the pictures that we have from that visit, I needed to make a waterfall, and I needed to make a waterfall with a sufficient number of peekaboo pockets. That means I made an 8-page waterfall. Want to see how I did it? Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, so I pulled this beautiful piece of paper. Isn't that pretty? I just thought that was super cool. This also came from scrapbook.com. And I'm going to use this as my cover sheet for the waterfall. And we had this nice group picture that we had taken at the castle. So we're going to use that as well. Now to place, I already know that I'm going to need 8 peekaboo pockets, and that's what I have prepped right here. I have 8 of these, all with all of their good stuff mounted on them. Okay, so they are all ready to go. Let's just count them just to be sure that I'm not crazy, because I'm revisiting this after I had set it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, okay, I'm not crazy. Well, not today anyway. Okay, so we are going to proceed knowing we're going to be using the 8-pocket portion of our template. Now that means that we have 3/4 of an inch to go on the edges of half of our paper. The top piece is going to be cut at 6 inches, and then each piece from that point forward is going to be cut at 3/4 of an inch, which is not much. Okay, so we want to make sure we get this right. So I'm going to line my paper up on the shoulder on the left hand side, and it does make a little bit of a difference, so line it up on the left hand side, and I've got my marker so I know this is 6 inches. Okay, so there's my 6-inch piece, and my family picture is going to go right on the top of this, so just so I have less things floating around my sphere on my workspace, we're going to go ahead and put this down. And I'm just going to center it on those top and left and right sides. Okay, so that's going to go like that. And then we'll use the back side, or actually, I beg your pardon, this one is going to be mounted on top of this. So we're just going to put hopefully I'm going to fit 2 pieces into that peekaboo pocket. So let me, to keep things again sane, because this can get really out of hand really quickly, I am going to just go ahead and build this first peekaboo pocket. Okay, and here, I'm going to leave that paper in there and just set that to the side. Now, what I wanted to do on the by using this dark green is take my white pen and just draw a little bit of a border. It's too difficult to try to mat all these photos and make it look decorative and cool that way. I didn't want to take the time to do it. I'm sure there's someone out there that doesn't mind, but I have other things I wanted to do with myself. So I'm just going to, I could make a little dotted border, or I could, make a line with a dot, or I can make just a straight border, or I could make a straight border with a dot before it intersects with something. There's all kinds of different ways that you can do a border, but and these white pens are fantastic on dark paper. They just show up super well. I'm not going to do like a stitch border because I don't necessarily want this to look like it's stitched together, but I thought maybe if I did something like a dot dash maybe would be nice. So we're going to do a little bit of a line and then a dot before it intersects, I think is what I'm going to do. I haven't used this pen in a bit, so give me a second. I gotta get it rolling again. Okay, so there's that. We're gonna, before I put my Peekaboo pocket into its, oh, and I just messed that up. I should have put a dot. That's okay. Only you guys will know. You won't tell anybody, right? So I'm going to put dots in the corner, and then I love rulers for keeping me honest. Otherwise, I like to just guess, sort of. And again, this is just meant to kind of give it a little bit of a decoration. I don't think that I'm going to want to go back through here and add embellishments to every little bit of this, of each one of these Peekaboo pockets. And so because of that, I am, this pen is causing me grief. So let's jump over and use this one. Oh yeah, this one is so much nicer. Look at that. That one's just fantastic. Okay. As I was saying, I just don't want to spend a lot of time. I just want to add some basic design to this. So it doesn't look like I totally forgot about the Peekaboo pockets pages, that I cared and I did something with them, right? Okay, so I think that will be good. I could even do a little journaling if I really wanted to, but so when we walked into the base, words just escape me sometimes. When we walked into the dungeon, which was the base level of this, they had all of these this wonderful mural set up across the side of the wall. You can see a little bit of it behind. This is me and my daughters sitting here. Remember, Emily was on crutches, so stairs were not really her friend at the moment, and Haley kept us company. I don't remember why, but so the three of us were hanging out, and this is the dungeon space that we walked into. There's a little bit of this going on behind us. Not that one exactly, but something like that. And then we were looking at this wonderful wall of the history of the castle, and it was so fun to be able to sit there and learn while we were waiting for everybody else who was upstairs getting a first-hand experience with all of the details that we were learning about. It was just really, really cool. And in a minute I'm going to share something else that I learned while we were sitting there. So hang on just a second. We're going to get these two into our Peekaboo pocket so that we can proceed with the next steps of this. A couple weeks ago when you watched that video where I first did one of these 6x12 waterfalls, I mentioned in that video that I really didn't know exactly what I was doing. I hadn't had a class. I hadn't watched any videos that the people who, the advisor who created this, who's noted in the details of the video, had put out. I think she did put out some instructions, but I never really watched those because I'm just like that, I guess. But I learned in an advisor training that I went to here recently more details about how to do this. And so I'm just going to put a couple of these things away so that I can show you how to get this started in a more appropriate way. Because when I did mine, I had most of it right. And that's not a pat on the back for me. That's just a, you know, hey, I really didn't screw up that bad. But there are a few little tweaks that I wanted to make sure you knew about. I'm just going to set those over there for right now, so that you can do yours better, okay? Because that's what I want to do for you. All right, so you get your Peekaboo pocket all set up, your first one, and I'm going to trim the corners of this. Now we trim the corners so that when the page protector goes on top of it, it will fit appropriately. So I'm just going to start here where it connects and folds, and I'm going to cut in at about a 45-degree angle, okay? And your precision point scissors work great for this, but probably it's better to use your big scissors because they just do better with the plastic. All right, and so we're going to do that on that side. We're going to do the same thing on the other side so that both corners are mitered and able to fit more easily. And then we're going to fold that top over just to make sure we've got it all in the right place. And I probably should have done that before cutting, but that's okay. We're going to take the cellophane off. Okay, so the cellophane's coming off. Like the gloves are coming off. All right, then the edge where your hinges are, if your waterfall is on the right hand side of your layout, the edge where your hinges are is where you're going to place this. Now I'm going to make this as accurate as possible, I'm going to fold my lip over the edge, and I'm going to line this up with the jeeping. You want it right on the edge of the jeeping, and you want it to be such that the edge of your paper is right in line with the edge of the page. Okay, so right up against the jeeping and right in line with the edge of your page. Now that means that the little bit of plastic on the edge of the Peekaboo pocket is going to hang over the edge. It's supposed to. So that's fine. Okay, make sure you adhere that first. Okay, you can flip it over, you can push it down, make sure it's nicely adhered. Okay, then you're going to take the piece of scrapbook paper that's going to be your base sheet, and you're going to adhere that on top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive to my base sheet. And this is the part that I didn't necessarily do. I didn't miter my corners. I didn't add my base sheet on top. So these are all things I want to make sure you know so that you are doing it correctly when you do your pages. Okay, so this is going to be adhered right on top of that Peekaboo pocket, as close to the jeeping as possible, but right on top of the Peekaboo pocket. Okay, and then hopefully you are using a piece of 12 by 12 paper that is going to be truly 12 by 12. Mine again is a little bit shy, so it is, you can see the edges of my page, but that's okay. It is the way it is. Okay, now we've got our base sheet and our first Peekaboo pocket adhered. All right, now we need a page protector. All right, so now we take our page protector, and again, this is for doing one of these using a traditional hinged page. If you are using one of our pocket pages, then you would do this a little bit differently, because you won't have the page protector. Your page will already be protected. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and slide this on. And then we will adhere our peekaboo pockets to this. So we take our template, and I'm going to actually need to flip it upside down, but the light green lines are the ones that I'm going to be following. So this I'm going to slide in on top of the photos I've already mounted on my base page so that I can follow those marks. I want to line it up with the edge of my jeeping, and then flip this closed and make sure that my midlines meet. Okay, so make sure that you're good to go with where the edge of the peekaboo pocket sits, that sits right in the middle and right on that center line. Okay, now we are good to proceed. All right, so I'm going to line up my previously prepared peekaboo pocket materials over here. I'm going to start cutting where I left off. So I cut on this side. So I'm going to measure that at 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to cut. Okay. Now we could cut them all at once, but it will get a little bit dicey to do that. So we just have to kind of be careful. All right. Now, one thing I wanted to share with you before we get too far along was this was on the wall directly across from me. And as I was reading through all the history of the castle and things like that, I looked at the wall and went, oh my gosh, that says scrapbook. So then I started looking a little bit closer, and it says in this little history thing up here, it says the restoration of Bunratty Castle commenced in 1954 when the 7th Viscount Gort purchased the ruin from local landowner R.H. Roswell. Viscount Gort was a member of an Anglo-Irish family with a seat at Lochruta in Gort, County Galway. In 1921, he married Bessie, I can't really see that. Bessie Surtee, I think is her last name, her surname, who belonged to an aristocratic North of England family whose lineage went back to Norman times. Prior to his death in 1976, Viscount Gort bequested the castle and all of its furnishings to the people of Ireland. The castle is now managed by a development company on behalf of the trustees. And then down here it says these photos were taken directly from her scrapbook, Lady Gort's scrapbook, which I thought was very cool and a very neat homage to our craft, that she kept a scrapbook. Very cool. This says, Viscountess Gort personally collected the preceding photographs, newspaper cuttings, and other papers and entered them in this book in a period from the restoration of Bunratty Castle to her death in 1972. She contributed much to the work of restoration and the furnishing of the castle, not only by generous donations, but also by valuable advice and encouragement, quietly and unobtrusively given. So really a cool theme. And this, I think, is going to need to find a peekaboo pocket, so that's why it's kind of just sort of loosely stuck in here, because I didn't end up having enough room for it, and I have to figure out what to do with it. So, but we are going to take our strip here and we are going to put it down the outside of this page. And so we're going to put it, I think I need to trim this photograph a little bit too. I got super excited and I started assembling all these pages, and then I realized, oh gosh, I have to make room for all of the photo on top to work with this. So I went back and I fixed most of them, but this page I was not able to fix because it just didn't quite work, sadly. So it is what it is, but we're going to work with it. So I'm just going to trim a tiny bit off of this and see if it will help. If I do that, aha, that works. I can stick that right in there, right up against the edge. And that'll work. Okay. So we can take our pen. I think this is the one we were using. And I'm not gonna have you watch every time that I do this, but I am going to add just that little border that we did on the first piece to all of these. That one's not working. It's this one. Yep. I'm going to add that same type of border to all of these just to keep the continuity going. And then we'll flip through it when I'm all done. How's that? But you should, if you are following along and working along with me, then just know that you need to go ahead and add what you want to add. I recommend that you add whatever you're going to add before you put it in the Peekaboo pocket, because it is kind of a pain to add it later. And I've just learned that from experience, so do what you would like, but I think you'll be happier if you add everything you're going to add before. So I have probably some journaling that needs to go on here, but we'll get to that eventually. Okay. So then this one and it's got photos on the back, but this one will go into the next Peekaboo pocket. I think let's do this. I'll get all of these ready and then I will bring you back and we will add them all to the layout. So let's do that. I'm gonna prep the rest of these. Alright, so here's my last one, and I'm getting ready to put it into the Peekaboo pocket. I am noticing that I actually I miscounted. All of that counting, and I miscounted. So we actually have 7 Peekaboo pockets, not 8. In this layout. And so let me show you what has happened here. I actually have I needed 7, I didn't need 8. So, and that's my miscalculation, so that's unfortunate. But what I could do is just try to put a tiny bit of a line in between each one and make it a decorative element, which I think is what I will try to do. So for 8 Peekaboo pockets, you definitely do need 3/4 of an inch, okay? But I have, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's actually 8 Peekaboo pockets because I counted this one. But there's room for let me just play with this for a second, because that just, could I have done my math really that wrong to do that? Yeah, I did. I just miscounted the number of pockets that I was going to need. So if you need 9 pockets, including the top one, then you go with 3/4 of an inch. Okay? But the measurements for 8 are going to be different. And that's my, I will figure it out and let you know the next time that we do a waterfall, because this would be with 9, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 separate peekaboo pockets plus the cover one. So that's actually 9. That's when you use every 3/4 of an inch. All right. So the 8 is going to be tedious. I think it's going to be somewhere between 3/4 of an inch and a full inch. That's why I don't want to do the math right now and try to figure it out for you. Because, oh man. Okay. But because I have kind of a fluid photo, this is not a photo, I can just eliminate this extra one that's on the end. And I am going to just spread these out and put a little bit of that edge that's in between each one. I think it will look lovely. I think it will be a nice design element, even though it was unintended. So let's proceed, okay? So I'm going to start with, let's see, how do I want to start with this? I'm going to tip this one up, and I'm going to move all of these to the side. Put my trimmer away. That will be helpful. Okay, and then we're going to start with this first, with the last one. We're going to start with the last one so that it lines up at the right place. Okay, so we're going to take our cellophane off. We're going to fold this over. And by folding that over, then we have a nice straight edge, and we can see on the other side where our nice straight edges, we can center that and line it up on the edge of the jeeping, and go ahead and place that down. Now, it's important to note that the edges of the peekaboo pockets are not going to be the same. They're not going to match the edges of your page protector. Don't try to make them match. It will drive you absolutely insane. The peekaboo, or the peekaboo pocket is shorter than the page protector. Okay, so just don't stress about it. Just know you are centering the two, centering it between the two. Okay, so we're going to go with that last one. Then we're going to proceed forward, and I'm going to just leave a little bit of a gap, and we'll check it every now and then. The cellophane, look at it. It's like attached like a 5th arm. Get off. Okay. So we're just going to do each one very carefully. We're going to try to line them up. We want the top of the peekaboo pockets, of each of the peekaboo pockets, to line up. And we're going to adhere these down, knowing that there is a line, a slight line of green in between. Just try very hard to make it straight, and hopefully it will all work. Okay, so we're going to press it down. The neat thing about this is, because you're attaching your peekaboo pocket to the page protector, it's very forgiving. You can lift it up, you can move it, you can try it again, you can straighten it. you know, so don't feel the pressure of, oh, it has to be perfect the first time, because it won't, because I can't adjust it. That's not going to be what happens here. So I think that's why I'm not too worried about trying to do this, trying to modify this just a little bit so that it works for my mistake. Because I know that I can just lift it up again and it will be okay. All right, so we're doing okay so far. Let's see as we get the rest of these. I told someone the other day that I wanted to add more interest to my videos for you. So here we have the suspense of, will it work? Will it won't work? Will it not work? How will she do it? It's unintentional, believe me. But, you know, we work with what we've got, and I have a brain that sometimes doesn't think ahead like it should, I guess. All right, we're getting there. 3 more. And then we'll flip through it, and I can tell you a little bit more about some of these pictures that you're seeing. I can't tell you a lot about them because, as I mentioned earlier, I spent the duration of this visit to Bunratty in the dungeon, like a kid who was in trouble, with my daughter who could not do all the stairs. So the rest of the family, though, took all these wonderful pictures, which of course needed to go in the scrapbook. Get off me, cellophane. And so they are going in the scrapbook. Okay, this one is having an issue. Okay, this last one is going to be the one that we want to make sure is super careful. And you know what? I'm just realizing that I put my template in completely wrong. So let me just show you. The template should have been in the other direction for 3/4 of an inch, which we've, you know, now determined is not the right one. But you still, the edge where your peekaboo pocket goes is the edge where you want your lines to be closest. If that makes any kind of sense at all. If I'm saying that in a way that you understand, hopefully I am. Okay. So make sure the edge of your template is at the jeeping on this side, and then you can see how far I'm off because of the fact that we are designing this as we go instead of following a template, unfortunately. But the idea is that you would line this edge, the edge where the fold goes, you would line up with each of the lines on your template. Now, because I don't have that, I'm going to fold this down, try to fold this down. And line this up so that it's going to be where I want it to be. Okay, so I know that first one is where it needs to be. Now I need to give just a little more room between some of these so that I don't have such a huge gap between this one. So I'm going to move this one over. Let's try that. This one as well. I'll just keep moving them over till they all look like they're fairly even. Okay, let's see how that is. Better, not perfect. This one needs to go over a skosh. Too much. Well, I like that better. I still may play with this a little bit because I don't want that dot to show right there. And I can see a dot down here too. But better. Okay, so let's bring back our left-hand side and take a look at how that will work together. All right. Well, I'm liking it. I think what we're going to need to do, it's going to need a little bit of embellishing, just a little bit of embellishing. And what I may do is add a little something kind of right in here, and maybe something here, and I'll put maybe some journaling across this area right here, or the title. Then we'll put the title across there, and embellish that just a little bit. And I think that will be all we'll do, along with adding the journaling, of course. All right, well, let me know what you think about this layout. I think it was fun to try to combine the two, and obviously this is a lot of photos. So we entered, this was from the dungeon that we talked about. We've got photos in the dining hall. We've got photos in some of the bedrooms. Look how ornate these bedposts are. Pretty amazing. And how tiny the windows are. You know, of course, defending a castle, you need tiny little windows. You don't want people to be able to get in, so it's understandable. This looks like it was the main hall. It has this gigantic fireplace and these beautiful tapestries in it. Some stained glass. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This was where kind of like an archbishop or some kind of clergy maybe would have worshipped, or possibly maybe the people in the castle would worship here as well. But this is set up a lot like some of those areas in castles in like Robin Hood times is what I think of, you know, in the movies. So I apologize if that offends anybody who is a student of history, but I don't know a lot about that era, so I can't really explain more than that. There were these lovely ducks as we were walking back out back to the gate of the park, and my funny kids, they were really being cute and silly, and they have a lovely gift shop there. We really enjoyed walking through the gift shop, and we of course made lots of purchases before we left, which was really fun. And we found these name plaques, which were very cool. Mine says Kim in English. The meaning of the name of Kim is bold family, quite a sensitive and emotional person. She is very charming and delightful. She can be quite sociable and particularly accommodating when need be. She's refined and sometimes a perfectionist, depending on the job at hand. So, obviously, you can see where that applies to me. My husband's probably nodding and going, yep. That's why we had to redo all the peekaboo pockets. All right, and here's my son being super cute, and he found these things that helped him dress up like a knight. And when he was little, he dressed up like a Lego knight, and so we just couldn't let him not dress up and take pictures on this trip. It was super fun. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope this has been fun, and I hope that you'll try these waterfall peekaboo pockets. They really are the coolest thing since sliced bread. Ha ha. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments.